Well, welcome back to some more black and white horror films for Halloween in this edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse. So this time we'll take you back to the 40s for some zombie stuff. And by zombie stuff, I don't mean Romero's flesh-eating or Fulci's flesh-eating zombies, because that's not how zombies evolved. You go back to the classics like I Walked with a Zombie. Basically, the whole voodoo aspect of the zombies was that they were resuscitated corpses that were brought back to life to work in the sugar canes films. They didn't go around biting people, they didn't go around killing people, they were basically under some kind of control. So, of course, Monogram, which would become Allied Artists, which would become United Artists, was on the cusp of this stuff in 1941 with King of the Zombies, where a crew of three are flying somewhere over some undisclosed island when they're forced to crash land. And it was Dick Purcell, I believe, was first billed, and Mantan Moreland was third billed. And they land on this island controlled by Henry Victor, who is actually a Nazi agent and is sending stuff back to the fatherland. And there's a whole bunch of mumbo-jumbo involved with Mantan doing his comic bit to keep us occupied, because the film, other than that, is kind of dull. At one point, Mantan believes he's turned into a zombie, and he goes, "Move over, boys, I got to get in line with the rest of you." And then the cook feeds him something and says, "How do you feel?" And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Well, you ain't a zombie, because if you were a zombie, you would eat salt, and the salt would have killed you." Another myth, I guess, or whatever. But anyway, one of the heroes is turned into a zombie and is shot a couple times while trying to take out the bad guy, and then we find out about the whole Nazi connection and stuff like that. Okay, so we segue down the road 2 years later. Now we're involved in World War II, and this one's Revenge of the Zombies, starring John Carradine as another displaced Nazi scientist conducting experiments in Louisiana Bayou. And this one actually is a lot better than King of the Zombies. Mantan is back again, fifth build this time. We got Robert Lowry, Gail Storm, a couple other people. But it's basically, they go to John Carradine's residence, the mad doctor, of course, whose wife has just died. What they don't know is he's actually killed her and was doing this voodoo practice. And there are zombies walking all over the place. Mantan is parking the car. Mantan is Jeff again in this one. And this guy Lathyrus, is standing outside going, "I used to drive this car back when I was alive," which sort of sets the whole pace. You see, there's also a double agent involved. What's really going on is that Scientist Carradine is creating an army for the fatherland of zombies that can't be killed, hurt, or whatever. And of course, he's going to go back to the fatherland and bring his wife as proof. But for whatever reason, his wife, played by Vita Ann Borg, doesn't let him get mind control and decides to leave. And in leaving, it creates a whole fucking deal because, he's supposed to bring her overseas. Well, he decides to do some other stuff, but in the interim, everybody's looking around, and she is talking to certain people and says at midnight this will happen. So what happens is the bad guys grab the good guys. The double agent turns out to be an American agent played by Bob Steele, who was a cowboy star, who would go on to be in, I believe, Trooper Duffy and F Troop, and be in Hang 'em High and a couple other John Wayne westerns. So anyway, Bob's a good guy. So they turn the tables, and the way to summon the zombies is this way. Oh, and then the zombies come. Well, this time they come in led by the good doctor's wife, who basically knows the only way for her to escape is to kill him. So she chases him out in the swamp, where she pushes him into quicksand, and they both sink and die. Like I said, this one was a little more plot heavier than the other one, ran just about as long, or a little over an hour, but is a lot more fun, I think, because of the over the top theatrics of John Carradine and the fact that he can't control his zombie wife. A lot of us can't control our zombie wives, but that's beside the point. Robert Lowry, went on to do a few other things. I think one of his last roles was in 1966's The Undertaker and His Pals. So, see, back then, I remember seeing these. It was something, I guess it was late 50s, early 60s. There was something on at 1 o'clock on Channel 5 in New York City. I think it was WNEW. Around 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, something called Detective Mystery. And they would have some Bulldog Drummond stuff, some Boston Blackie stuff, Mr. Moto, things like that. But in the mix were like King of the Zombies, Revenge of the Zombies, Revolt of the Zombies, the Zombie-less Valley of the Zombies, and other little horror films like The Undying Monster, Face of Marble, Dr. Renault's Secret, things like that. So I got exposed to all this stuff at an early age, and I still got fond memories of these films. And the fact that I've said this before, that people unload on, Mantan Moreland, as being exploited in this. No, he wasn't exploited. He was doing some really good fucking work in these films because he kept us entertained, and he was a huge part of this. And he wasn't being exploited at all. Third bill in a movie isn't being exploited. Even fifth bill isn't being exploited. And as a matter of conjecture here, Darby Jones, who played the main zombie in I Walked with a Zombie, shows up uncredited in King of the Zombies. So that's your zombie fun for today, and I gotta address something that's going on. I got a weird fucking email about, not being, good to horror and this and that, why am I doing this? Well, I never said I was part of the horror deal. I'm a part of the grindhouse deal, which encompasses a whole bunch of genres. But I have noticed there's a huge amount of bullying in the horror community, and the guy who does the editing on my DVDs, Henry Cotu, has a podcast, and he's getting a lot of bullying shit from somebody who's doing it anonymously, and that's how it seems to work on the internet. Everybody's got a big mouth anonymously. I know there's some derogatory shit about me floating around, but to those who are putting that up, fuck you, we know what you're all about too. And most of my fans know where I'm coming from, so I ain't worried about that. It's just a sad state of affairs when, someone succeeds in doing a podcast or writing a magazine or doing a book, and a bunch of people from the horror community are ready to shit on them, which is bullshit. I've said it before. My career, if you want to call it that, was all happenstance and luck. I never really pursued it. It was, like I said, the whole joke on Something Weird video. Well, I guess the joke's on me because over 30 years later, I'm still doing it. And obviously, people are still enjoying it because you're still tuning in. So to the haters, I say a hearty fuck you. And to the guys that are getting shit on, don't worry about it. Blow it off, because all it is internet jealousy, because these people, if they had any talent, they'd be doing something themselves. And obviously, they don't have any fucking talent. So their only talent is to aggravate people that have talent and shit on them. So that's the way I look at it. But anyway, that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Above all, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.